these are the same socks. Same yarn, same pattern, same age, same size. I washed and depilled one and did absolutely nothing to the other. Let's talk about a simple process that brings new life to your knits. Welcome to KnitMech, where fiber meets function. I'm Erin, a mechanical engineering professor and mom who's rediscovering my childhood hobby of knitting. Today, let's dive into the very simple, minutes-long process that can take a sock that looks like this into a sock that looks like this. If you're a new knitter or someone who's just knit their very first pair of socks, you might be super excited. You've got this intricate design, you've used these tiny needles, only to find that after a couple wears, they develop pills and they stretch out and they just don't look as nice as they did to begin with. And it seems like all those hours of knitting on these teeny tiny needles is maybe gone to waste. But there's a simple process that only takes minutes that can take your socks from worn and messy to crisp and new. First, let's talk about why knits, and socks in particular, show signs of wear, sometimes relatively quickly. A lot of sock yarns are wool blends, and with friction, heat, and moisture, or any combination of those, yarns can pill, and that means that they'll develop these little knobs that us knitters don't love. They look a bit unsightly, and although functionally the sock is the same, it just makes us less excited to show off our knits, and sometimes less excited to put these on to begin with. First, gather your supplies. You need wool wash, a lint roller, blocking mats, your depiller, and that bowl that you have in your kitchen that you use for popcorn when guests are over, and also to sit by your kid's bed if they're about to puke. You know which bowl I'm talking about. The first thing you want to do is just put a dab of wool wash into the bowl. Then you put on room temperature water and fill that bowl up. You don't want your knits in the bowl while the water is filling up because that can actually add too much friction and can cause more pilling on your knits. After your bowl is full, you want to gently dip your knits into that bowl. You want them to be submerged. You want to try to make sure that all of the air is out of those knits, but you don't want to be aggressive in rubbing them together or pushing them too hard because, again, we're trying to avoid friction. Set your timer for 20 minutes and go work on a current whip or cast on something new. When the timer goes off, take your knits out, put them on a towel that's laid out. Oh, that's another supply that you need. And you want to roll those up tightly. This is how we get the water out of our wool socks. Now you've got a nice clean sock and it's time to let it dry. Sometimes this takes overnight. Sometimes if you live in a dry climate, it can just take a few hours. Once the garment's dry, the fun really begins. The first thing I do is use a typical lint roller to get off any loose pills and also to kind of pull some of those pills up so that when we do depill, we're getting a nice even cut. Now it's time to depill. I put links below for all of the products that I use. There's nothing special about them. They're relatively inexpensive. I don't think you need the fanciest supplies for this particular process. Depending on your knit, you can change the depth of the blade. So this process can work with very tight knits that don't have a lot of texture, or they can work with knits that are chunkier, that have a lot of texture, and maybe you don't need as tight of a cut. It's important that you lay your knits out flat before you depill them. If the knits aren't laid flat, you could potentially cut yarns that you don't intend to cut, and that would be a travesty. So as you can see here, I'm doing the depilling process along the alignment of the fabric. I'm not going across the knit stitches, I'm going along them. You can also choose to do the same process on the inside of the sock. If I show you what the inside of this sock looks like, it looks really nasty. This is the inside of my Woodland walk socks. And as you can see, after a couple weeks of wear without care, you can see I've got some serious fuzzies accumulating. Some are almost like felting a little bit and just a hot mess. So I also like to do some depilling on the inside of the sock. Other people may not bother, but for me, I do like it because sometimes these chunks of fuzz really bother me or have got bit of sensory thing, so I don't love the chunks on the socks, so I will depill the inside of the socks. When you're depilling over lace work or texture, you want to be especially careful because you don't want your yarn to get accidentally caught or cut into the depiller. So just exercise a little bit more caution on those spots. Here's a close-up of my lovely depilled and cleaned Woodland Walk sock. You can really see the difference between the sock that has been depilled and the sock that needs to be depilled. This sock has been stretched out, used, and abused. It's been serving its purpose, but it feels really good now to have the crisp version ready to go. Here's another example. It's less drastic because these are tweedy socks, but here's a pair of my Oh So Basic socks from Summerly Knits. Here's the before version. Again, a little stretched out, a little pilly, and then the after version is nice and clean. So it's less drastic because the tweedy bits are still in there, but certainly you can see that the fuzziness on the depilled sock is definitely less, and it just looks so much cleaner and nicer. If you're short on time and don't want to wash your socks, you can actually do the depilling process without washing them. And this is what I did on my gloves. So here's what my gloves look like before the depilling process. These are my daily commuting mittens. So they are made to be abused. You can especially see on the palm how matted and disgusting these are, but I want them to still look nice. So rather than going through the whole washing process, I just depilled this other one and cleaned it up. And you can see right off the bat that even without washing, the depilling process really does work wonders. Here's the underside. And even though it's not perfect because there is going to be some felting, you can see the vast improvement between the pilled and the depilled versions. So is this process worth it? By the time you wash, you block, and you depill. Is it worth it? I think it's absolutely worth it. I'm not gonna do this every day. I'm not gonna probably even do this every week, but every couple weeks, I do find a lot of joy in cleaning up my knits to take them from a pilled mess to a depilled magic. How do you take care of your socks? Please comment below and let the community know your processes, your favorite products, and how you take care of your knits.
Hey, it's Editing Erin. Just wanted to say please subscribe, like the video, and happy knitting!